Listen, it's a good Monday. So apparently, from Amwai, when people are talking about their wives, never participate if you got no wife. Even people are talking about their girlfriends, never participate if you got no girlfriend. So any opinion that you might have about life in general, you have to be part and parcel of that. Anyway, thank you very much. It is Monday, the 17th. Ooh, just a couple of days, in fact 13 days in for us to get done with this month and get into November. My name is Simba, Elijah Charles Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing to begin with us. Amwai, take over, man.
All right, now, just like you said, there are 13 days to the end of the month, but I wasn't looking at the month, I was looking at the year. You just started the other day.
Oh, yeah, by
right
the
now
way.
You're looking at, probably, I'm seeing people already organizing end-year parties. So we closing this year.
Wait. End-year parties, yeah?
Yeah.
We have to organize one.
I think that is a communication that needs to be passed to, the management.
Isn't it? Has to be there.
You can't communicate to them though, right?
Yeah, we can do it right now.
Yeah.
I know they're watching. So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
From Lookuptv family,
Yeah.
a lot of people are organizing their end-year parties this year just to celebrate how tough the year has been. And we're coming to the end of it. Our management, our general manager, our head HR, and all the directors are watching TV this morning. Amwai Brian and I, Simba, Elijah Charles Kiage, are firm to this message. If you're looking for participation, you already have 2 votes. We're in it. You want to go where? Mombasa?
We can't disclose that. I think I think we need to sit on the table and discuss that.
Is it?
Do you agree?
Isn't it? That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why.
So you're looking forward to that?
Definitely. I mean, if there's any debate that I'm going to participate in, it's that one, 100% participation.
Yeah.
I'll even give you different scenarios of exactly what we need to do so we make that party a success. Anyway, hopefully that they've listened to us. Amwai, how was your weekend? Let's talk about it shortly.
Okay, I was at work though.
Wait.
I work during the weekend, you know that?
How does it feel to work over the weekend? I think I should have asked that, isn't it?
Um,
Saturday and Sunday?
yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
So which is your Saturday and Sunday? It's
My Saturday and Sunday is
Tuesday,
Tuesday and Wednesday.
people had work during those days. What do you do for fun?
What I do for fun?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question. I have no idea.
For a man
I
who's
do have an idea. It's just that I can't say it on air.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's totally okay. For a man who does interviews around work-life balance, you should have an idea. Yeah? But anyway, but the thing is that you get your 2 days of rest, isn't it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's fine. So you were here yesterday. Anyway, a lot of things have happened over the weekend. Yeah. Listen to Ruto. He was launching a dam somewhere in the country.
Yeah,
did you listen to the
Kirinyaga.
speech?
Pardon?
Did you listen to the speech?
I did.
Upon launching it, there was one word that came out. Our competitors. Who is he competing?
I think we're done with competition. And this is the conversation we're actually having during the weekend. We are talking about, I think, the mood that is in the country right now is like people still think they're in the campaigns. We are done with campaign. It's time to start working.
It's time to start
because
working.
Every time these politicians stand up to speak, you feel like we are still campaigning. But we voted, we saw in elected leaders. We are done with campaigns. It's time to start delivering on those agendas that you promised, the manifestos. You are manifesting.
Amwai, I got to put you on the spot, though.
Okay.
For a man, I'm going to point out to the deputy president, who's actually said that we have not even believed that we're in government yet. Do you think we can give him a leeway to still wake up to the reality that you're running government business?
Okay, for how long are we going to do that? By the time we notice, it'll be 5 years.
So far?
Yeah.
It's been 30 days so far, isn't it?
It's been 30 days, and now we started counting another month.
Anyway, but listen to me, they were saying, wow, and can I ask you as well, on this one as well? When they were launching that dam, would have you loved for them to say, project like this that was started by the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, are the ones that we're going to support, because then we believe that they're going to have a solution to the food crisis in the country. They did not. They took it completely as theirs, and they said, you see, we told you, for us, this is exactly what we're going to do. But the project is like 60% complete. So you're wondering, has it been 60% complete in less than a month of you being in office? Proper question, Amwai.
No, this is the thing. You see, Simba, I was also thinking of the same because I'm seeing a lot of, launching of projects left, right, and center. Even from the counties, you see governors walking on the streets, inspecting roads and all that. This, for me, I think it's PR, one thing. And also, I credit this launching of projects to the previous administrations, both in counties and at the national level, because I don't believe these people have been in office for 30 days and already, done all this work that they claim that they are launching this. We are launching a school here. We started this. We are here. No, that is not, because you need to give credit where it's due. You say, okay, this is a project that was started by my predecessor, and now that it's done when I'm in office, I think it's just the right thing that for me to launch it. I'm launching, but at the back of your mind, but it's not you that started that. So stop taking credit for projects you didn't start.
Remember, all these views are for Brother Amwai. Do not represent.
No, it is true. It is true. Because
I was waiting for that disclaimer.
It is true, Simba, and I think we need to say it the way it is. And I've been thinking of writing something about it because I'm seeing a lot of projects being launched at the county level.
That's it,
at the
national
level. But you wonder, it's been the time that we've been in office
they've not even got a budget.
To have a budget to do such a project in such a short while is not possible. So what happens? But when these officials are launching these projects, they're not giving credit. They're not saying, my predecessor, this is a project that was started by the previous regime, and it is here to serve us, and things like that and all that. So I think they need to keep that in mind.
That's it. Amwai, thank you very much, man. Happy to have you around. Guess what? We're just getting started, and I do know that deeper conversations around how the government is shaping up are coming from Brian Amwai's desk. That is us from 10 to 11. But for now, we take a tiny little breather. Once we come back, let's look at some of the headlines that you are waking up to this morning in terms of the dailies. Once we come back. Oh, welcome back. Let's, Amwai, what do you have this morning?
I have the Daily Nation, Simba. I have the Daily
What are they headlining?
Pardon?
What are they headlining on the Daily Nation?
The headline on the Daily Nation is why I disbanded crack police unit. This is the President, William Ruto, and they say an investigation report on the disappearance of 2 Indian nationals and their local taxi driver that was presented to President Ruto last week precipitated the disbandment of the Special Service Unit, SSU, an elite squad in the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, now accused of being behind extrajudicial killings. Now, I just want to quote him. He says, I am the one who ordered that the Special Service Unit that was conducting extrajudicial killings be disbanded. We have a plan on how to secure this country so that we avoid the shame of Kenyans being killed by the police and their bodies dumped in Yala River and others. You're going to change this country for the better. But that is a headline on the Daily Nation, just in a way dealing with extrajudicial killing, because it has been one thing that we've been talking about for quite a while. 2 days later, you hear that somebody has, nowhere to be seen. They're found dumped in a forest or something like that, so in a river and things like that. So somebody lives in Nyandarua, but they are dumped in Yala River. You wonder how exactly did they get there? And I think we were having this conversation last week. Just on Friday, though, where we have an artist who's singing on matters extrajudicial killings and just calling it the way it is, and saying people disappear from. How do you disappear from Nairobi? Then you're found in, Yala River. How did you get there if the forces are not involved?
Quite interesting, Amwai, on that as well. What are your sentiments on that? Because then, if you look at the functions of that particular unit, they were quite clear, by the way, because they're the ones who are also part and parcel of cracking down the tough areas of criminal investigations.
But this
when we don't have them, what does that mean?
I think they got a little bit
Carried away?
To some extent, you could call it carried away or involved with the underworld. That's how you can put it, probably, organized criminals and all that. So in one way or another, we know how things run sometimes. You can have a clean police force, but at the end of it, somebody comes and infiltrates it and corrupts it, and they start doing favors for people who are not supposed to be, getting those favors. So instead of protecting people, they are doing other things because somebody else is requesting them to. And yeah, so those are how you can corrupt that particular sector. And I think it gets away from what function have you been put here to do, to you now doing, instead of protecting, you end up maiming.
Anyway, so when you look at the Standard as well, there's that headline on how Ruto's fatal blow to that particular police squad. That's also the major headline on the Standard. But then again, when we look at another headline that is right here, so talk about how Museveni was an interview with one of the local media stations in the country, spoke a lot, by the way, around areas around his long reign that has spanned, 36 years? Whoa, 36 years in power. And he spoke about his son, Muhoozi, the general, on exactly what he's been talking about. So, I mean, watch that interview. But what was really interesting to see, Amwai, from, and I saw you did see the pictures trending of the Standard Media the journalist who was interviewing, was it Sophia, yes?
Sophia.
Interviewing Museveni. The distance, the social distance between the two wasn't even the recommended 1.5 meters. It was almost 10 meters. Whoa. Guess what? If you carried 3 cameras, one for Museveni, one for Sophia, and then one for the long shot, the long shot camera was useless. That's what you do with it. You can't show that. Oof. Anyway, but read that story into pages 4 and 5 of the Standard.
This is the thing. I think when you talk about a social distance in regards, this is the president of Uganda. He's been in power for 36 years, and he's old enough, so matters health are very important for somebody who doesn't want to leave office anytime. So, and COVID is still here with us, so take that serious.
So for him, he's getting extra cautious, isn't it? On it.
He has to be.
By the way,
he's the president.
I'm going to talk about this because I know you're going to talk about it. If you go to the Standard on pages 10 and 12, it is all eyes on members of parliament as a vetting of the cabinet secretary nominees begins today. Now the exercise, I will see leaders reminded of their pasts that they would rather not defend in public. It's going to be a very, very interesting exercise at the National House. We do expect Musalia to be vetted, the likes of former governor, Machakos County, isn't it? Is in the House as well. It's going to be reminded of their past and all that. So, and I know Amwai is going to talk about that. And top of your conversation today is this cleansing, in quotes, that we've seen from the DPP of all those names that were included in that list of CS nominees that were going to be vetted today, isn't it?
Yep, we are going to have that conversation and also just touch on some of the people that will be vetted today. And what exactly will, how does their profile look like? What exactly have they been doing? Do they have any scandal in the past that is actually going to come and play out in the public during the vetting process? We are talking of Musalia Mudavadi, former National Assembly Speaker, Justin Muturi, like you said, Alfred Mutua, Alice Wahome, Eden Duale, and so many others, as we continue with the vetting process that is supposed to take, I think, up to Saturday. Pretty much. Also, another headline here before we just go to the next. I think jobs, matters to do with jobs, they say dropout beats graduates. Now, this is the thing. Kenya university graduates, on average, takes 5 years to find a job. With experts at a forum on education reforms pressed to address high unemployment rates among graduates, according to a senior World Bank economist. Unemployment is higher among university graduates than those with only primary or secondary education in several sub-Saharan African countries, a likely consequence of admission policies, and pointed to that tertiary education and labor markets are not doing their parts. Right. That is on page 10 and 11 of the Daily Nation. That has to do with unemployment in the country. Yeah.
Read more into that as well. Now, take a short break again right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, let's see exactly what is trending now. What are you talking about? On top of that, we'll be looking into even issues around Safaricom once we come back.
Okay.
Gotta start like this, Amwai. Is your line active?
I did register it. I'm late though, but I did. Yes, my lines are active. I have two.
When did you register?
I think it was on Friday.
Friday, last week, that's it?
Yeah.
Just a day to the deadline?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think I had to.
Last minute. Wait a minute, this thing has been around for like 3 months, actually, even last year.
Well, it was working before.
All right.
It was working. So I only registered it because I started, it started having issues. I was trying to make calls, they are not going through.
Oh, yeah.
One of the lines, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I was being told that I need to register my line and just update my information on that. So I did that, and I was given a very quick option where you can just do it online, 5 minutes, you're done. You don't need to go to a Safaricom shop.
All right, so majority of Kenyans yesterday woke up to the realization that their phones had been switched off or deactivated. Here's the thing, got to make it clear that if you have not activated your line, you can actually get to do it again today, but then the process is going to be a bit tedious than it would have been. Now, we do have Hamed Nasser, that's the lawyer, who tweeted yesterday, and it was very bitter. And we'll be picking your sentiments. We're talking about how after 2 decades of using, there is a tweet. Then after 2.5 decades of being a loyal customer of Safaricom, they unceremoniously switched off my line this Sunday. Tomorrow, I'll move to one of the competitors and will never use their service again. Then he continues, I knew that short man will burn the ashes. A house built by Michael. Here's the thing, we do know who he's referring to as a short man. That is Peter Ndegwa, Safaricom CEO. Amwai, your sentiments on that?
This is the thing. We had like a long time, and I saw adverts run on TV on just how to beat this and be on time when it comes to registering your line. And they kept reminding us that by 15th of October, if you have not registered and or checked your details, updated your details, then you're going to be deactivated. They had that. I have no idea how privileged some people think they are, that you do not, you think you don't have to. Maybe, you think that the people should look for you and do that for you. No. You have the time to do that. And I saw a lot of public figures, politicians doing that. But you had all the time to actually go register your line. You had all the time to, update your details. And it's very short time. Like it doesn't even take 10 minutes to actually do that. You could do that online. Simple.
Amwai, are you indirectly asking Hamed Nasser, who do you think you are? Is that what you're trying to say?
Okay.
We'll
be directed that.
Like, listen, who do you think you are? If majority of Kenyans were doing it...
He's not the only one, though.
He's not the only one.
He's not the only one. Also, the governor of Makueni, that is Mutula Kilonzo.
Yeah, also talking about why he felt...
the former women rep, Fatma Gedi.
Off the phone? Yeah. I mean, Amwai, I do share the same sentiments with you. They even made it easier for you to register. They gave you options. Would you walk to your agent, or you would do it over the mobile app or via USSD? But you didn't do it, and you're here complaining about why did they...
Why were
you're
people
not even
complaining
paying to do it. Where you can say that I didn't have the money. Listen.
Star 106 hash was the way you can actually check whether your details are updated or not.
Your details are okay. And we're talking about cases of money fraud in this country. I mean, why can't you support it as a leader? Come on. I mean, wake up. Amwai, I do support you fully on this. In fact, I should ask that question in your favor. Who do you think you are?
Let me just, I want to support something that Ledamo Lekina said in response to that. Why you guys are complaining about Safaricom? You know the law, and you know the law. Why can't you just follow it like all other Kenyans? Are you too busy to queue and register your line? This impunity will kill you. Then that was, he was referring to the tweet that you just said about Ahmed Nasir and Senator Gerard Gay, who are advocates of the High Court, imagine. Now, this is the thing, Simba. You see, after that threat that probably he would go to a different service provider, then Safaricom, you know, what do we call?
That's it. But even on the other side, Amwai, you've got to register.
Safaricom came back and said, okay, we are going to give you time to actually do it.
Oh, but I forgot that detail, Amwai.
What I'd like to know is whether every other Kenyan was given the same opportunity.
Also got that leeway.
Yeah. So that you say, now we've extended the period of registration. Could you actually, you know, by this particular time, do it?
Smearing.
Now, Ahmed Nasir says he's going to do, that was the right thing to do, to actually give him time to do it.
I'm telling you, right? It's not it. Amwai, that's wrong from Safaricom. If you're doing that, then give the rest of the Kenyans that period then. Tell them. But here's the thing, that issues like this make me angry. And on that note, Amwai, let's leave this conversation alone because I don't care. I'm registered. That's it. Here's the thing. Let me talk to you about something. Okay. Baba, he addressed himself in third party. Third person base, has left the country for a week's visit to several nations, starting with India. See you all when I'm back. All right? Almost went with see you all. The only apostrophe is the one that missed. Meanwhile, can William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza stop it with the lamentations? You agree? Amwai? You agree with him?
You asked me whether I agree that he's leaving the country or I agree that the Kenya Kwanza government should stop with the lamentations. The last part of the question
where he's talking about how William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza should stop with the lamentations and fix the country.
To some extent, I'll say yes, because people want to see the government get to work and, you know, deliver the promises that they actually made. But in most cases, when they stand on a podium and pick a mic, what you hear is probably... And there's a headline that we didn't actually catch, and that was... Where he said yesterday that I'm actually cleaning up the mess that the previous regime, that is of President Uhuru Kenyatta, left behind. And these are the kind of complaints that people, to some extent, are tired, because when you say, I came in with a plan, as much as we want to give you time, could you get to work and start working on that plan instead of saying, now, there's so many things, the coffers are empty, the dilapidated economy and all that. So how do you fix that to some extent? Get to that. Tell people this is exactly how I plan to fix it. Let it work like that.
Bwana, nimeangalia hapo chini after Baba's tweet. In just a minute, Mike Sonko. Can you give President William Ruto space and time to solve the 5-year mess that you and your brother created?
I think we've spoken about this for quite a while, and we always say this issue of time, how much time are we asking for? How much time are we asking for? Because I think you're asking for a lot of... time could be 10 years, and that's what I normally say. But again, Simba, just still on that tweet before we move to the next segment, Baba is leaving the country, or Raila Odinga is leaving the country. And some people, political analysts, actually questioning why and what exactly is he going to do in those different countries? What is his mission? Because he just saw he met with a representative from the, a High Commissioner from India.
That's it,
Yeah, exactly. So what message did she bring? And now he's going back.
That's it. Guys, feeling friendly with Millicent Omanga saying, can Raila Odinga stop it? With the lamentations, by the way, what position do you think Millicent Omanga would get in Ruto's government?
I'm going to tell you something. Somebody argued and said, Baba is leaving and going to different countries, and when he come back, you could expect, maybe there will be that Baba when you are away. So it might take a little bit of time. So maybe it's a business, maybe it's a vacation. We have no idea. But chances, according to political analysts and word of the streets, that he's going there. Then when he comes back, we revisit Baba when you're away.
Anyway, guess what? Baba when you're away, Miguna came back. All right, we take a short break right here on The Morning Drift. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom so we can see some of those headlines that you are starting your Monday with right here on The Morning Drift at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Amwai?
Amwai Brian, that is on Twitter at Lookuptv. The hashtag, like Simba says, is The Morning Drift.
Once we come back.
Born a man, the society bestows tough responsibilities upon you.
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider.
If you're not able to provide, that's a challenge. It takes a toll on a man.
It takes someone who is strong enough to face it.
This is Born a Man.
Yippee! Kamata plotting at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the City Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optivent's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Welcome back. You are watching The Morning Drift. My name is Simba Charles Kiage. Let me cross with you to the newsroom so that we can see some of the headlines that you are waking up to this morning. Now, blocking lines for telecommunication users has raised a concern in the country, with some of Kenyans really complaining about how their cards are being deactivated. Now, the move by the Communications Authority would see an end to online theft without authorized SIM users. Moses Okech reports.
On Saturday, 15th of October, was the day that the Communications Authority of Kenya set a deadline for SIM card registration. The directive was effected, leading to a massive uproar from SIM card users across the country. We speak to Jane, a businesswoman who does not feel the need for SIM card reactivation despite using it for 2 decades.
Swali yangu ni moja. Hii laini tunaambiwa turejeste. Hatukatai. Lakini niko na swali moja. Hii laini niko nayo karibu ya miaka 20 ama 25. Nikifanya nayo biashara, naigiza M-Pesa, natoa, nafanya kazi, naenda bali nayo narudi. Swali ni wakati nilinunua hii laini, niliregister, nikapeleka ID wakanipa laini. Hawezi kukupatia ID bila laini. Huwezi pewa bila ID hata wapi. Sasa hii wanataka tena nifuge kazi. Niende huko nikakae huko na vile kuna kiangazi. Nikifanya nini? Nikipaga laini nikifanya nini sasa?
Jen's SIM card is still functioning and says if at all it will be deactivated, then she will abort using a phone services.
Hilo vibaya kwa sababu mi wakifuga na achana na hiyo mambo ya laini. Mi nafuga na achana na simu. Kwa sababu gani? Siwezi kuwa natoka hapa nafuga kazi na hapa ndio natafuta pesa na hiyo laini bado inakula pesa.
On the other hand, notable personalities were also on the receiving end of SIM card deactivation. Makueni Governor Mutula Kilonzo is one of the people that expressed their disappointment online. Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi on his Twitter account stated that he was disappointed by the Safaricom PLC services as he threatened to abandon the network. Nandi Senator Simon Cherargei claimed he had been inconvenienced by the service provider. Taking to his Twitter account, the senator said, after 15 years of having at Safaricom PLC lines, they have decided to switch off their services today morning, inconveniencing me. Charles Kanjama and former Wajir women representative Fatuma Gedi also fell victims. The affected persons cannot access their M-Pesa services, make calls and other online services. According to the Communications Authority of Kenya, the regulatory directive seeks to curb online theft and ensure sustainable online control.
Sasa mimi wakati nimerejeza hii line na feel poa sana juu hata ningefungiwa hiyo line nilikuwa na wasiwasi sana. Sasa hata nda communicate aje na watu wangu, hizo namba zitapotea.
I feel comfortable. I know I love no more hassles. Like if somebody needs to send me an M-Pesa, I'm just comfortable that it will reach me.
The club manager who allegedly shot dead Ida Odinga's bodyguard in Kisumu has been arrested in Eldoret. While confirming the arrest, Wasana Gishu police boss Ayub Gitonga said the suspect Collins Aulo Okonde will be arraigned tomorrow and charged with murder. That should be today. Now, Kenya's Arena Cheptai finished powerfully in the New Delhi half marathon to emerge as the winner in a personal best time of 66.42 seconds out of Ethiopia's Dawit Seyam, who clocked 68 minutes and 0.2 of a second, while Uganda's Stella Jesang settled for third and 68 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, the men's category saw Felix Kipkoech finish second behind Ethiopia's Chala Resaga, as was the case for the Amsterdam Marathon, which saw Kenya's Kipruto settle for second.
Boki Dirima was third in 60.34 seconds. Elsewhere, it was an Ethiopian affair in this year's Amsterdam Marathon after the Kenyan rivals secured victory in both men and women's races, with Kenya settling for second after Titus Kipruto clocked 2 hours, 04 minutes, 54 seconds behind the winner Ethiopia's Sege Getachew, who finished in a time of 2 hours, 04 minutes, 49 seconds, as his fellow countryman Bazezeo settled for third in 2 hours, 04 minutes, 57 seconds. Marinkigeni, Lookuptv.
President William Ruto has asked the opposition to shy from politicizing his leadership as he is busy correcting mistakes the government of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta did, while indicating that Kenya will soon recover and find its path economically. Ruto has further emphasized that he has put in place strategic plans to ensure that hunger remains a tale of the past in the country.
Speaking during a Thanksgiving service at Green Stadium in Kericho County, President William Ruto has assured Kenyans that the Hustler funds he promised will be officially launched on 1st of December, while insisting that no one will divert the money for personal benefits. However, President William Ruto has indicated that his government will fulfill all of its promises without discrimination based on tribalism and political affiliation.
Hakuna vile Kenya itaenda mbele sehemu moja, sehemu nyingine hapo nyuma. We are going to make sure that we eliminate the feelings of marginalization. We deal firmly and decisively with inequality, and we make sure that the government of Kenya serves all citizens equally, because we have only one country to call home.
While referring to the affordable housing project, Ruto has insisted that it will not only provide cheap houses to Kenyans, but also provide employment to the youth and improve the living conditions of the ordinary mwananchi.
Tumesema ya kwamba tutajenga nyumba 500,000, 500,000 houses if possible every 2 or 3 years. Hapa Kericho, mimi nataka gavana wetu aanze kupanga which are the towns. Tutajenga nyumba 10,000 hapa Kericho. Hizo nyumba 10,000 itatupatia nafasi ya ajira karibu 20,000 ya hawa vijana. Ndio kila kijana aanze kujipanga.
With the drought ravaging at least 23 counties in the country, President Ruto has said that his government is already giving the agricultural sector priority by subsidizing farm inputs and improving productivity.
Ambayo tutatumia kuanzia Disemba kuzalisha chakula. Tunafanya mpango, tunataka pia kutoa kutoka hiyo 7,000 ya saizi mpaka shilingi 3,500 mwaka huu, 3,000 mwaka ujao, na ile mwaka ingine tufikishe 2,500. Kwa sababu hakuna njia ya kuondoa njaa kwa Kenya, ni kusaidia wakulima ili watuzalishie chakula, kwa sababu tuko na uwezo wa kuzalisha chakula ya kutosha katika taifa letu la Kenya.
On his side, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said that problems affecting Kenyans today is as a result of poor governance of the country by the previous government.
We want to tell our detractors, we cannot clean the mess, the economic mismanagement of 5 years in 30 days. What we are doing right now is cleaning their mess. And they cannot oversight us to clean their mess because they were part of the mess. Once we clean their mess, they start the oversight on our programs. Kwa sababu shida wametuachia ni kubwa.
Kenya Kwanza allies who accompanied President Ruto to the Thanksgiving service have expressed confidence in Ruto's leadership while urging him to ensure devolved units get sufficient funding from the national government.
Within these 5 years, please build for us a major referral hospital.
Your Excellency, I'm sure as you settle down, you will be able to jumpstart those projects so that we can be able to move together in one accord.
Wakulima kutoka North Rift na eneo hii yote tunataka kushukuru kwa sababu ya bei ya mbolea.
Samedika, Lookuptv.
The nomination of Musalia Mudavadi as Prime Cabinet Secretary is expected to cause a debate in Parliament after the opposition, led by the Azimio coalition, argued that it was unconstitutional. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, is however expected to give a ruling on the matter today before the vetting of the CS nominees begins. What we do understand is that currently then that process is ongoing. Let's take a look.
It is a position that is expected to start the National Assembly as they argue on its constitutionality. The position of Prime Cabinet Secretary nominee Musalia Mudavadi. The vetting of Cabinet Secretary nominees is to start on Monday, with Mudavadi's position getting opposition as Azimio One Kenya coalition members argued that it was unconstitutional. This week, a meeting called by the Appointments Committee Chairman Moses Wetangula to set ground rules for the vetting of CS nominees was interrupted after Azimio member led by Minority Leader in the House Opiyo Wandayi, who sought direction on whether the position is provided for in the Constitution. Wandayi argued that the Constitution only provides for the President, Deputy President, Cabinet Secretary and Attorney General positions, and that there is no provision for Prime Cabinet Secretary. The move by the opposition led to Wetangula promising to give a communication on the way forward on Monday before the vetting process begins. President William Ruto nominated the ANC leader following a deal the two had signed when they agreed to work together as the country headed to the polls. When he formally nominated him, President Ruto said Mudavadi will be tasked with assisting the president and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Some of the roles include to coordinate and supervise ministries and state departments. He will also lead the Kenya Kwanza's administration legislative agenda in consultation with the two and the coalition leaders in parliament. Mudavadi will also perform any other role as may be assigned by the president. Mudavadi, who is a former vice president and also served as a deputy prime minister in the Grand Coalition government, will appear before the vetting panel chaired by Wetangula on Monday at 9 a.m. Besides Mudavadi, former National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi will also face the committee on Monday after being nominated as the next Attorney General to replace Kihara Kariuki. Garissa Township MP Aden Duwale and Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome will also appear before the committee on Monday. They are nominees for defense and water dockets, respectively. Also to face the committee on the same day is Alfred Mutua, who is the CS nominee for Foreign Affairs. On Tuesday, it will be the turn for Githure Kindiki, who is the CS nominee for Interior and National Administration. Former Central Bank Governor Njuguna Ndungu, who is the CS nominee for National Treasury. Aisha Jumwa, CS nominee Public Service. Davis Chirchir, CS nominee for Energy. And CS nominee for Trade, Moses Kuria. Others will appear between Wednesday and Saturday when the vetting will end. The last to be vetted will be Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau, who is seeking to be the second person to occupy the constitutional office that has remained vacant since 2013, but it is held in the interim by Joseph Kinyua. In a notice published on Thursday, Assembly Acting Clerk Sarah Kioko asked all nominees to ensure they carry along clearance from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Kenya Revenue Authority, Higher Education Loans Board, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and the Credit Reference Bureaus. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
The government and the National Disaster Management Authority in cooperation with the European Union has flagged off animal feeds in Garissa County. In a bid to mitigate the animal deaths witnessed, Garissa County has received 5,600 bags of animal pellets that will be feeds or distributed to at least 2,800 households. NDNMA Chief Chair, that is Adana, assured equality in the distribution and continuous support from the government in regions experiencing drought.
With extreme drought being experienced in different regions in the country, livestock have been affected at large. The government, through National Drought Management Authority, flagged off 5,600 bags of animal feed in Garissa County. The relief is aimed at reducing livestock deaths, as most are suffering from hunger that has weakened them.
Where the government has upscaled the intervention, and today what we are doing is livestock interventions. We are providing 5,600 livestock feeds, or common known as the pellets, to 15,000 livestock of the various species. This food is meant for the weak animals that have been left behind.
NDMA CEO Hared Adan assured that the government has put in place measures to ensure equal distribution of relief donations.
Also reviewed the drought coordination in order to bring about synergy and to avoid duplication of efforts, where all the interventions is undertaken through the CHG, which is shared by the governor and the county commissioner.
Despite the ongoing drought, residents of severely drought-affected areas have benefited from selling their livestock by partnering with the Kenya Meat Commission. These sales have played a key role in bettering their financial situations.
Vilevile imeweka mpango ya kununua mifuko ile haina nguvu sana, na kwa hivyo katika ile mpango ambaye ilikwisha hivi majuzi, serikali kuu kupitia kwa Kenya Meat Commission na Red Cross waliweza kununua kiasi ya ng'ombe 861.
In regards to the panging famine and drought, Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti announced the addition of Machakos County to the list of drought-affected areas. Therefore, Machakos County is set to benefit from the measures taken by the Drought Mitigation Committee.
Machakos was not in the ASAL areas. Tulikuwa tumetolewa kwa zile county zinakuaga na ugumu wa chakula ama dry counties, ASAL areas. Lakini nilipigana, tulikuwa na Deputy President Rigathi, nikapigana, Machakos ikawekwa na walichukua 30 na sisi tulikuwa namba 30. Kwa hivyo Machakos County chakula inakuja.
Mudeunda Lana, Lookuptv.
Ofisi from next week tutaanza kudistribute chakula.
Former Kiambu Women Representative aspirant Gladys Chania, who is a minor suspect in the murder of her husband, George Mwangi, will be arraigned today. Chania was arrested Saturday with 3 other suspects after the body of her husband was discovered at a Kieni forest in Gatundu. Shadrach Karere reports.
Barely 3 days after the body of George Mwangi was found wrapped in a polythene bag and dumped in Kieni Forest in Gatundu North constituency in Kiambu County, his wife Gladys Chania was Kiambu women representative aspirant in the last election, and 3 other suspects have since been held in custody, awaiting to be arraigned in court on Monday. Few weeks before the incident, Gladys recorded a video of herself singing. It's a video that has gone viral, sparking different reactions from netizens. On the video, Chani seems happy and relaxed as he sings a gospel song. A few days later, she is confirmed to be a prime suspect in the murder of her husband. Police were able to recover weapons that the killers are reported to have used alongside a vehicle that the police believe had been used to carry the body of the victim to the forest.
And confirm that the vehicle which was involved is with us. Already that one we have impounded. And I can see also some of the weapons which were used, we are in possession of them.
According to the police, Mwangi was killed in his matrimonial home in Mangu village before his body was ferried over 18 kilometers. After conducting an investigation, police discovered that another man, a casual laborer, who had been living in Mwangi's home, is also missing.
I can see it's among one of the worst one. We have been able to get quite a number of documentary evidence which we are collecting from that scene.
Shadrach Karere, Lookuptv.
So we're just from the back of celebrating World Food Day. Yeah, that was on Saturday. But if you look at it, currently in the country we have over, almost by the way, 23 counties that are food insecure because of the ongoing drought in the country. But then when you put it into numbers, those are 4 million Kenyans who, if they don't get food donations, that'll be it. If you also factor in how many livestock we've lost, then you put a number to it, you'll find that we've lost almost 10 billion worth of livestock. So we did that story right here on on Lookuptv. I'm sorry, and then majority of the views were around how food is expensive. But then if you look at what the complaints were, it's that even the basic food that is not supposed to be expensive, you know, the lifesaver, the basic food, cereals, maize, you know, the potatoes that are even drought resistant, some of the varieties are. Millet, which is drought resistant, some of the varieties are. That we failed to factor in that indeed we could categorize some of the foods that we can offer continuously, even in these areas that are affected by drought, and just gone to perennial food relief supplies. Are we going to get to the end? Because if you listen again to President William Ruto, is saying he wants hunger to be a thing of the past. But let me remind you though, we are at the end of this year, meaning that 2030, Vision 2030 is a thing for us. So we'll be what, 7 years away? But then again, if you look at the UN SDG number 2, it's talking about how to end hunger in the world. How close are we? Go to Northeastern right now, look at the images, then you will ask yourself whether this narrative by politicians is just funny. That's it on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, Brian Amwai will be talking about what is currently ongoing at the 13th House, the vetting of the CSs who've been nominated to be in President Ruto's government. Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, my name is Simba Charles Kiage. Join us on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Let's take a break.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Born a man, the society bestows tough responsibilities upon you.
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider.
If you're not able to provide, that's a challenge. It takes a toll on a man.
It takes someone who is strong enough to face it.
This is Born a Man.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni Hapa Kazi Tu.
Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Maki Wambogo, Sales Manager of Optiven Real Estate, and I'm here at our head office, Absa Towers, located at Reuters Street. Today, I'm here to talk about our newest project, that is Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, and it is located only 10 minutes drive from Cedar Mall. And in this project, we have proposed that we will be having a GMC Entertainment Center. This will be a replica of what we have in Kitengela, GMC Kitengela. We are also proposing a police post, so you are assured that security, once you invest here, security is good. And we are also proposing to have a playing ground. We are also going to have a community ground. So once you invest here, you don't have to worry about the security. The other things, among the things that we are doing, or the things that we have done already in Great Oasis Gardens, we have already done the marking fence, and the roads, the internal roads are already happening. We have started the malaming the road, and we are still in the process of doing the malaming of the internal roads. And we are also sinking a borehole so that we ensure that our investors in Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, will not struggle with water. We are also going to elevate a water tower so that we have a constant supply of water in this project. And we also have a caretaker on site. The caretaker is on site, and he's there 24/7. And then we also have different sizes in this project. We are having 8, we are having quarters, we are having halves, and we are also having acres. One can buy in bulk, you can buy in big chunks, and that is why we are saying in Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, we are saying that bigger is better. In this project, what you can invest in, you can invest in private schools, you can also do holiday homes, whereby you can do Airbnb, you can also do holiday homes, and then you start renting, and you can also build houses and sell. You can also do apartments in this area. You can also do supermarkets. You can also build a mall, and then you start renting. There is so much that you can do in this project because it is not controlled development. We are also located along Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, and this road is being proposed to be tarmacked by the government. So coming from Nanyuki, or coming from wherever you be coming from, it will be very easy to access the project because it is touching the Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, which is going to be tarmacked by the government. My number is +254 722 355 107. Do not be left behind. Call that number. I will work with you If you're in Kenya, give me a call. We go for the site visit. We select the project. We start the payment. If you're in diaspora, send a representative, and I will be delighted to work with you. And as we say here in Optiven, we shine because you make us shine. God bless you. Thank you.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Today we are at St. John's Hospital here in Githurai. We are here in conjunction with Total Care Box.
Once again tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids.
Tumekuja hapa Gatora tukiwa na mwariko wa kuitwa na watu wa Roto.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana Lotto Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo.
To the Lotto Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guys, we lack words. We lack words. We don't know what to say.
Mimi ya leo kwanza ni kushukuru Lotto Foundation wakiwa pamoja na Total Care kwa sababu ya kuangalia mama wetu.
Tumeshukuru sana kwa wageni wa Lotto Foundation kwa kututembelea hapa. Hatujawahi kutembelewa na watu wengine kama sisi wajane. Tumeshukuru, Mungu ambariki na amzidishe ule upendo na kwingine mnaenda, na tumemkaribisha tena na tena na tena.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Already seen all of it from here, thanks to my wonderful long neck.
Born a man, the society bestows tough responsibilities upon you.
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider.
If you're not able to provide, that's a challenge. It takes a toll on a man.
It takes someone who is strong enough to face it.
This is Born a Man.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni Hapa Kazi Tu.
All right, now, good morning to you once again. This is the Morning Drift. My name is Brian Amwai. You're just in time for the conversation here on the program. We are talking about matters current affairs. So what is happening today? Well, LSK and DCI. Well, the LSK gave DCI 72 hours to give reasons as to why they dropped the cases that had been filed against some suspects who are to be vetted for different positions in this government. So 72 hours have elapsed. I think they elapsed today, and we are seeking to find exactly why. We'll be looking into that, the names of those people and what kind of cases they were actually facing. Also, the CS nominees vetting is currently ongoing, with the first person to be facing the panel being Prime Cabinet Secretary nominee Musalia Mudavadi. Some of the things he said is worth 4 billion shillings. All right, we'll be getting into that as we continue with this conversation. Joining me on set for this particular discussion this morning is Cliff Ortega, who is a policy and governance expert. Thank you so much for making time. You
Thanks,
good?
Brian.
You
Yeah,
good?
Great to be back. Yes, I'm
Are we satisfied with the government? Are you okay with the government?
satisfied and okay. That's a strong word.
Okay.
The first thoughts are, I mean, it's only been 30 days.
It's only been 30 days, so you still have time?
Yes, having said that. But I know the counter argument to that is that when you seek government, you should be ready to hit the ground running on day one.
Yeah.
There's nothing that has come as a surprise to the Kenya Kwanza government.
Okay.
Our big challenge, I think, and everybody agrees, is our economic situation.
Okay.
A lot of it is homemade, the decisions we've made, particularly over the past 10 years. But some of it, and a good chunk, maybe 30%, is external to our circumstances, so beyond our control. You know, this war in Ukraine that we had dismissed, but now again...
That we come again to recognize that.
Of course, yes. So these are the, as they always say, you know, you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. But the governing needs to start in earnest now.
Okay.
Yes, the election is over. Unfortunately, in Kenya, as soon as the election is over, politics begins.
Yes. And this is the thing. I don't know. I want to pick your mind on the same, because you say, you know, that we are done with the campaigns. But most of the time when you see politicians stand on the podium, it's like it's still in the campaign mode. What do you make of that?
The challenge with that, Brian, is when, as a politician, you cannot switch to governance as quickly as the country and the population demands, then you leave yourself open to claims of incompetence.
Okay.
And that's why we've seen again over the past few days, the former Prime Minister has found some political space again because people are impatient, and rightly so. This is the first transition we've had under the, or second actually, under the new constitution. And the thing is, people expect you to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Our elections are quite hard fought. This particular time, issues were more, not completely, but they were at the forefront more than ever before.
Okay.
And those issues still persist today.
Okay.
Number 1, 2, 3, economy.
Economy. Now, that's interesting. I don't know. We started with a different conversation. We need to get to the real conversation that we wanted to have this morning. Now, freedom is here. I'm talking about the nominees, and different people talk of, you know, Aisha Jumwa, Moses Lenol Kulal, who is the former Samburu governor, and also Mithika Linturi. These are some of the names that have been proposed for different positions in this government. Some had applied for PS positions, others want to be CS, their CS nominees, and they had graft charges. But just recently, we saw the DPP actually dropping that and saying probably we didn't have sufficient evidence, that they've been here for quite a while. To some extent, some people feel it is cleansing, so that they become clean by the time they're facing the panel. What do you make of that first?
Well, without having the facts that the DCI has and the office of the DPP, we can only go by what they say. So there's two ways to look at it, okay? So it was Kwame Nkrumah who said, seek ye first the political kingdom, and then all shall follow. So in a sense, when you do win government, and particularly like Kenya Kwanza towards the end, was, and even now, in these first 30 days, they're still operating with a siege mentality. Like it's us against, you know, the world, whatever the world might be. Hopefully that changes very quickly, but some of the things that are casualties of that sort of mentality are due process. So, on the other hand, though, we do know that, because we can see that in the past 2 years, I think Kenya Kwanza referred to it as weaponizing the war against corruption and weaponizing our security forces against to influence politics. I think there was an element of that. It's clear to see because prosecution, arrests, and that sort of thing were selective and they were so dramatic as to obviously have some sort of alternative reason. Now, where we might cross the line is if indeed these were political witch hunts, what is the due process? And that's not really a question that necessarily is only aimed at the DCI. It's something for us to address collectively as a society. What then is the due process that we have in Kenya? If you are charged with an offense today, to the extent that the office of the DPP drafts a letter and publishes it on Twitter and it's disseminated widely, and you're even charged in court, what is the clear due process for that to be dropped? Because our fear is, obviously, corruption we know is a major issue in Kenya. How do we address it if it's seemingly that easy for a charge to be instituted against you and also to be dropped? I think that's the big question. So bigger than the individuals themselves, because if there's no evidence, there's no evidence. We have our arresting authorities and we have the prosecutors. We can sing and dance until the cows come home, but if they're not willing to move forward for whatever reason, they won't move forward. So the bigger conversation is how do we get into that mess? And then what's the procedure to get out of it?
Okay, but what does this speak of the the authorities that have been mandated with doing the investigations and prosecuting and all that? Because now you make people have a case on their head for years, months, and at the end of the day you say we didn't have enough evidence. Are we not supposed to be making sure by the time you're taking this case to court, by the way, there's sufficient evidence that probably undisputed?
Absolutely, 100%. So it casts both the DCI and the DPP in a very bad light. Because either you are not independent at the inception of the prosecution, or you're not independent now as you drop them. It's one or the other or both. Yeah, there's no other sort of middle ground, because you need to convince Kenyans that the next time you take particularly a big fish to court, after a dramatic arrest, we saw people who were being arrested and, with 100 policemen, so many cars, and being dragged out of their homes at midnight on Friday, that sort of thing. I think even it had a name. I think it was called Shika Shika Fridays.
Kamata Fridays.
Kamata Fridays, yes. Now, is that over? And if it is over, then what caused the beginning of that process and why has it come to an end? So we need some clarity from the DCI and the office of the DPP as to why. But sitting as observers, as Kenyans, watching, obviously people are not happy because it means that either through political machination, we continue to water down the fight against corruption, and that emboldens people that seek to steal from the public coffers.
Because I wanted to ask that, and it's important that you brought it up before we go to the LSK part, the fight against corruption. Because when we see, to some extent, people need something to believe in. And I'm not championing for, using politics, doing political witch hunt and just, for dramatic purposes so that you show people we're actually fighting corruption. But people need to look at something and say, there's money lost, somebody is being held accountable. Somebody is facing these charges. They may take long, but at least you look at it and you say, maybe we are fighting corruption. At least somebody is willing to push the button and say, we are seeking answers from these people who are in charge at that particular moment. When we, as Kenyans, sit back and look at money that has been lost, yet nobody is being accounted for that, and nobody is being arrested for that. What does that speak of our fight against corruption, for that matter?
So I'm thinking from an evidence point of view, perhaps you're going about it the wrong way, So not casting aspersions on the DCI, but do they have the tools? I was just reading a report today, earlier on, from the Auditor General. The Auditor General audits so many institutions. They publish so many reports. And I think they might not be, of course, it's not a criminal prosecution or criminal investigation, but I think the evidence threshold that they collect is perhaps of a higher standard than the DCI, because if you say 19 million shillings, like in Aisha Jumwa's case, was stolen from the CDF or whatever, are you sure as a DCI and the DPP, once you lay those charges, that you have met or exceeded the evidence threshold? That's something for lawyers to debate, okay? But by the time, because there's a cost to all this, you know, I saw last week the Chief Justice published a very long list of anti-corruption magistrates. So there's a big, we're spending a lot of time and resources on this fight against corruption. So we need to be very, very careful how we prosecute that fight.
Okay. Spending a lot of time and resources on this fight against corruption, but it doesn't seem to be moving anywhere. That's the thing. Let me come to the issue of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, because it has to mean something to some extent. And when you look at, because when Kenyans sit down and start questioning, and I know you've also questioned, why are we dropping these cases now? They've been here for quite a while. But these are some of the names in this have actually been nominated for different positions. So are we giving Chapter 6 the importance that it actually deserves? Because to some extent we say innocent until proven guilty, but also we need, if at all you have a taint on your back, then at least we need to give you some time to actually clear your name before you actually come, right?
The challenge with that is the outgoing administration, particularly in these past few years, unless you're the only stranger in Jerusalem, I think it became increasingly obvious that our security agencies had then morphed into political actors as well. Yes, because you could see, I'll give you an example, KEMSA, you remember there was a scandal. Our former president himself stood in front of Kenyans and said that within, I think he said within 30 days, there would be a report and we would see prosecutions. It's 2 years later. KEMSA was very serious. We're in the middle of a terrible, once-in-a-lifetime health crisis. Those people seem to have gotten away with it. Not a single person has been charged in court. But then, if you look at the list of people who were then subsequently arrested on different charges, you could see that this thing had a political dimension to it, you know? So the challenge for us then is where we draw the line, because you are innocent until proven guilty. The issues around Chapter 6, you know, there's the so what question. So you're innocent until proven guilty. So if your DCI certificate, the certificate of good conduct, says that you have pending cases in court, but you're innocent, because if indeed those are political cases, or you might actually win the case, are we mature enough to say that we trust the system to deliver due process, that we will deny an otherwise deserving candidate for office the chance to be vetted and approved for that office? I think we are not confident with that process. So there's a bit of a lacuna between saying this is what Chapter 6 requires and this is what you do in the event that there's a gray area around that. That question has not been answered. It might be answered this week with the vetting, but we don't know.
We were hoping so. But this, let me come to the LSK part, because LSK gave the DPP 72 hours to come and explain, give reasons as to why exactly are you dropping these cases. Do they owe us an explanation as the public?
Yes, they do, but I think they have explained, because when they do drop the cases, they say that the evidence is not sufficient to sustain a prosecution. I don't know what more they can say beyond that, because beyond that, I think it is political. But I don't know if they can say that as I said before, either we were under pressure before the new administration, or we are under pressure now. I don't know if that is information they can disclose. Yes, because
so in each either way, it could be state capture. We are not saying it is, but if at all those under influence of the previous administration, maybe they could actually be under influence with the current administration to some extent, right?
Yes. So we want to be kind to them. You know, always you need to give people the benefit of the doubt. These are professionals. So let's say it's one or the other. So let's say that they were under state capture under the previous administration, then they are free now. You started off by saying freedom is here. Maybe they are free now. But we'll continue to watch, I think. All people that respect the Constitution and want to see us live up to its ideals will continue to watch and hopefully hold our agencies accountable.
Okay. Let's touch on the issue to do with the money that these people were actually facing cases. And there's money involved. We are talking about 19 million for that is Aisha Jumwa. Lenol Kulal was about 80 million graft case. When this money, if we have no one to hold to account when it comes to this money, and these cases are dropped and they're not taken, you know, nobody's following up on that, nobody seems to be interested in actually doing that. What happens to, you know, the misuse of public resources and all that, probably, because this money will have gone to do something different, if at all it wasn't misused by these individuals who are being accused or allegedly to have misused that.
I think, unfortunately for Kenya, because of our history with corruption, if you go back even to the 1970s, corruption was being addressed as a critical issue in the governance of Kenya. But what we've done is, for whatever reason, whether there's a cultural element to it, is we've embedded corruption into the fabric of our society, economically, politically, and socially. Very few Kenyans are innocent, you know, because whether you give a bribe of 200 shillings or you steal 200 million, those are both corrupt acts in principle. So unfortunately for our society today, we've embedded it into the way we do things, and it's almost like an additional tax on our public coffers. So for us to change that mindset, we have to go beyond talking. Who is to lead that charge? We would hope that the judiciary now, a well-funded, independent, qualified, well-resourced and staffed judiciary, should lead that charge. We've seen the judiciary do very bold things over the past, particularly maybe 5 years. We saw them, like I'd give the example of BBI. We would have expected that, given the importance of BBI to the outgoing administration and the former Prime Minister, that if there was a way to manipulate the judiciary, they would have done that. And also with the 3 Supreme Court petitions around the last 3 elections, including this one, the most recent one, the judiciary on the surface actually seems to have teeth. So we're looking to them, and only them, because the executive cannot then be on both sides, because typically corruption stems from the executive. You know, most of the people that are accused are in the executive at whatever level, whether it's at national or county level. So our last hope is the judiciary. And if they let us down, then we ultimately might just have to live with corruption as a way of life. Like we're living with COVID now.
We get to adapt. And you say, now it is here with us, what do we do? We have been having this conversation on whether we can actually legalize corruption and say, now we have an office that actually deals with corruption. Now, you go there and you say, I want to take this much. So, something like that. But let's get to the point where we, as the people of this country, can actually have this conversation and take part in the fight against graft. Hold leaders to account, demand that, you know, there's money lost and we need somebody to be accounted for, to pay for this, and explain to us exactly where did this money go. It is supposed to be public money, money that is coming to the people to construct hospitals, schools, and all that. So we as the people, how do we raise this conversation?
Unfortunately, Brian, it's not something that can be dealt with simply. That needs a cultural revolution. We have to go the way of places like even China, where you almost brainwash your public, because this has to start with very young children. Because if I'm driving in a car with my kids in the back and I give a police officer 200 shillings to let me off of a real or imagined offense, that already plants a seed in the mind of that child, that money is your ticket to get out of illegal acts that you may have committed. So how do you change that? Because it's one thing for me to tweet about it or talk about it here, or even talk about it to friends and family, or to listen to it in church. But if you can't change the individual, and where we are as Kenyans now, I won't say the vast majority because we haven't done a scientific study, but I think when we look at the statistics, like I think every year bodies like Transparency International publish corruption reports, which public body is most corrupt and that sort of thing. We are all participants, you know, we are all guilty. Even if you haven't done it, you're part of the society that thrives on that. So how do you change it? You need some sort of cultural revolution. There's been talk about having ethics built into our school curricula. I don't know how far that can go, but we need to try everything. What we can't do is give up, because we've seen countries where, for different reasons, corruption can actually bring a country to its knees and destroy a country completely. Yes, it happens. There's so many examples. Yes, and we don't want to go that way. But it needs, I don't know, we can't just pay lip service to it, you know? Like, would we hold, what would be the start? Would we then hold some sort of national conference on corruption and then come up with specific measures, but who would be the first casualty? You know? Yeah. So it's a public hanging, but who will go first, you know? Yeah, who will cast the first stone? We are all sinners, you know, as they say.
And that's the thing. It brings me to my next question as we try to wind up on this conversation so that we go for a break. The issue of, because in most cases, when you find that we have somebody who has been alleged to have, committed a graft, we as the public come out to defend them. And we say you are Wetu and things like that. Are we fueling this? Are we actually encouraging our leaders to, to be corrupt and at the end of the day come on the other side and say the government is not fighting corruption? But when money is lost and somebody is put on the table to explain, then the public, their supporters come out and start defending them, whichever side. If it's somebody from the coast, then the people from Mombasa will say, this one is actually witch hunt. Or somebody from Kisii, Nyamira, any other part of the country. All these leaders have their supporters who believe that if there's a graft case, then it's a political witch hunt. As a public, we are not doing enough, are we?
We are not, because of the structure, our economic structure, you know. We have a pyramid thing where we have lots of people who can barely make ends meet at the bottom of the pyramid, and then we have a few people in the middle class, and then even fewer people at the top. So if those are the people that control corruption in that sense, you see, it filters down. Because we are still, as Africans, we are still in a society where we expect crumbs to fall from the big man's table or the big woman's table these days, you know. So of course we are complicit. I read an article in the paper this weekend penned by Kiage Simba, and it's explaining in detail why he believes Azimio lost and why he lost his governorship. And he talked so much about money. He was talking about rallies of between 6,000 and 10,000 people, and he was saying they have come for money. So what we infer from that is that there was enough money to give 10,000 people at a particular time. I think the least maybe you could give them is 50 bob, probably higher. So think about that. So if that is a sort of resource that you need to get into office, where does the money come from? The salaries cannot sustain that. Because we wanted to put a cap on that, and they said, no, you can't limit whatever we use on the campaign. It is our money. Yeah. So you talked about legalizing corruption. I think, as the lawyers say, I think de facto we already have.
I want to take a break here on the program. Thank you so much, Cliff, as you continue this conversation. Yes, that is freedom for graft, suspects who have been charged with graft cases across the country, and now they are eyeing different positions. It was released and dropped. The cases were dropped. We are continuing this conversation. When we come back, our other guests will actually be joining us on set. Oyela Kiesa, who is a public communication expert, and we'll be getting into what is happening right now at the Parliament buildings, and that is the vetting of CS nominees. Just something that is also linking this conversation that we're having here on set. Here, don't go too far. I believe Musalia Mudavadi is currently being vetted, and we'll be coming with the details of that as we continue the conversation and exactly what we should be looking at when we're vetting these public servants. After the break.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly one-year installments plan.
They're inspiring possibility.
Born a man, the society bestows tough responsibilities upon you.
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii. Ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider.
If you're not able to provide, that's a challenge. It takes a toll on a man.
It takes someone who is strong enough to face it.
This is Born a Man.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Born a man, the society bestows tough responsibilities upon you.
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii. Ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider.
If you're not able to provide, that's a challenge. It takes a toll on a man.
It takes someone who is strong enough to face it.
This is Born a Man.
All right, now thank you so much for staying with us here on the program. We are continuing the conversation, matters current affairs, what is happening at the moment. Well, CS nominees vetting is currently happening at Parliament buildings, and I believe there's a package on that particular conversation that we are supposed to be having this morning. But before that, let me just introduce my other guests who joined us. Thank you. Nini ilifanyika bana?
Nairobi has got some traffic. I thought President Uhuru sorted out that, but...
so it looks like we didn't do that, right?
But anyway, we can't sort out the traffic because you build more roads, buy more cars.
Okay. But freedom is here, maybe that is something that can be looking at. All right, I believe that you're going to play a story on that so that it ushers in our conversation here and talk about what is happening at Parliament buildings today. A position that is expected to start the National Assembly as they argue on its constitutionality, the position of Prime Cabinet Secretary nominee Musalia Mudavadi. The vetting of Cabinet Secretary nominees is to start on Monday, with Mudavadi's position getting opposition as Azimio One Kenya coalition members argued that it was unconstitutional. This week, a meeting called by the Appointments Committee Chairman Moses Wetangula to set ground rules for the vetting of CS nominees was interrupted after Azimio member led by Minority Leader in the House Opiyo Wandayi, who sought direction on whether the position is provided for in the Constitution. Wandayi argued that the Constitution only provides for the President, Deputy President, Cabinet Secretary and Attorney General positions, and that there is no provision for Prime Cabinet Secretary. The move by the opposition led to Wetangula promising to give a communication on the way forward on Monday before the vetting process begins. President William Ruto nominated the ANC leader following a deal the two had signed when they agreed to work together as the country headed to the polls. When he formally nominated him, President Ruto said Mudavadi will be tasked with assisting the president and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Some of the roles include to coordinate and supervise ministries and state departments. He will also lead the Kenya Kwanza's administration legislative agenda in consultation with the two and the coalition leaders in parliament. Mudavadi will also perform any other role as may be assigned by the president. Mudavadi, who is a former vice president and also served as a deputy prime minister in the Grand Coalition government, will appear before the vetting panel chaired by Wetangula on Monday at 9 a.m. Besides Mudavadi, former National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi will also face the committee on Monday after being nominated as the next Attorney General to replace Kihara Kariuki. Garissa Township MP Aden Duale and Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome will also appear before the committee on Monday. They are nominees for defense and water dockets, respectively. Also to face the committee on the same day is Alfred Mutua, who is the CS nominee for Foreign Affairs. On Tuesday, it will be the turn for Kithure Kindiki, who is the CS nominee for Interior and National Administration. Former Central Bank Governor Njuguna Ndung'u, who is the CS nominee for National Treasury. Aisha Jumwa, CS nominee Public Service. Davis Chirchir, CS nominee for Energy. And CS nominee for Trade, Moses Kuria. Others will appear between Wednesday and Saturday when the vetting will end. The last to be vetted will be Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau, who is seeking to be the second person to occupy the constitutional office that has remained vacant since 2013, but it is held in the interim by Joseph Kinyua. In a notice published on Thursday, Assembly Acting Clerk Sarah Kioko asked all nominees to ensure they carry along clearance from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Kenya Revenue Authority, Higher Education Loans Board, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and the Credit Reference Bureaus. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi. All right. Okay. Now, when you say when you're coming for these processes, make sure that you come with clearance from the EACC. I think that is where now what we were having a conversation on earlier on comes in. Now, Justin Muturi, who is Attorney General nominee, will appear at 10:30 a.m., while Defense CS nominee Aden Duale is expected at 11:30, and Dr. Alfred Mutua, who has been appointed to Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs docket, will face the committee at 2:30 p.m., while her water, sanitation and irrigation counterpart Alice Wahome is slated for 3:30 p.m. I believe it's already 10:30 something. Yep. Okay. Now we're having a conversation on this. CS nominees facing the panel today, a 15-member panel already at Parliament buildings. Let me just pick your mind on exactly what they should be looking at as we continue, because one person has already been is in the process of being vetted. Let me start with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Definitely, what you're having is it's just a cosmetic session. That is, to me, it's a waste of time. A proper vetting can come when the government or executive has a minority in parliament. Then you can expect that there is a proper scrutiny on the list that is being forwarded to the National Assembly, because it will be proper checks. You know, the constitution we have does not have anything called opposition. We only have majority, minority, but parliament as a group is perceived, and it was made in a way that it is an opposition that checks the executive excesses of the executive and the expenditures and all those kind of things. When you have a system where the national government controls the majority National Assembly, that's an extension of executive. So every session that the government, every business the government carries out in National Assembly, it's just for allowances, time wasting, catching up. No, it's just storytelling session. Like what we are seeing now, those are just storytelling session, if you ask me, because you can be so sure there's no scrutiny that's going to happen there. All the 22 nominees will pass. You know, it can't be like, life cannot be perfect like that. At least there must be some small mistake that you can find, one or two mistakes, then you rectify. But when you have a 22 list going through, then those are just drama we're seeing here.
Okay. We're not sure that all of them are going to pass, but like you said, maybe they might, because of the government of the day controls majority in the House. Do you agree with his statements, actually?
To a large extent, yes. Okay. In the history of this vetting under our 2010 Constitution, we've only ever had one nominee rejected. I believe she's not a nominee now, but Monica Juma. She's currently a CS. She'll soon be the National Security Advisor. And she was rejected, going by the reports, because there are things that she had said or done to MPs that made them not happy with how she was running the office, not because she did not meet any particular threshold. Another thing where I agree is, so we talk about, like we were talking about earlier, so we talk about chapter 6 and ethics and everything, but once again, the so what question. You cannot appear, if you've gone through that process, when you go to EACC, you fill a very long document, you go there and get it stamped. That cannot be clearance, because nothing has happened. You went and submitted a copy and you got a stamped copy. What I would understand clearance to be is that that what you present to EACC is an application for clearance, and then they should do some sort of investigation and send a report to Parliament, to the committee, and then the committee should go through that, and if there's anything that is displeasing or illegal or unethical, then that is what should be on the table. The idea that you can come with a document that is stamped, that you filled in yourself, you might have lied on the document, that cannot be clearance. So I think we're still confused about what we understand to be vetting. You cannot vet yourself, you cannot present yourself as a nominee and then say, I've been vetted because I applied for these things. That has to be external to your nomination. So I know sometimes they say, oh, when they talk about how they're going to go through it, they say Parliament will then write to these bodies to clear you. When did that happen? What is the report? Sometimes they're available, sometimes they're not. If you read the committee vetting reports, sometimes they say, we received the reports. They're rarely made public. So we have a process problem. And again, because of the way democracy works, even though you do have that process problem and everybody can see it, if that is the will of the majority, and the majority typically has tended to be the government in power through the executive, then most of these people will sail through.
Okay. So it is risky to actually have a government that has majority in Parliament?
Not really risky, it's just that our processes are not matured enough. Because the truth is, if we do vetting correctly, like the way we subject other Kenyans to private sector roles in terms of getting employed, formally, if you do not meet the threshold, if EACC write back and say that, for example, you are the governor of County X, and during your tenure, you had, maybe over 10 years, you had 5 qualified audit reports, that alone should disqualify you from holding another higher office. But we are not there yet. Politically, we have not reached that level of maturity. So it's a process issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Oyola, let me come to you. In terms of, because as much as probably they are going to sail through, but looking at the profile of the people that are going to be, vetted today, we're talking about Musalia Mudavadi, Justin Muturi, Eden Duale, Mutua, but let's start with Mudavadi. His position, the opposition was arguing that it's not in the constitution, and to some extent, the Speaker of the National Assembly, before they started, ruled that it was a legal position, and he can sit there and actually be vetted. What do you make of that first? Because the opposition was like, we are vetting as who? We have not been provided in the constitution. It's not a legal position. So what happens here?
The last time we had that position was around 1907, when we had the Prime Cabinet Secretary was a representative of the British colonialists, and his office was actually at Railways, where Mudavadi is being taken there. If you look at the history of that building, but that is before governor was posted. Then later on we changed into Prime Minister, then we changed to President. And if you look at our constitution, there is nothing. The current constitution, we only have the president, deputy president, cabinet secretaries, and all those institutions below it. There is no position called prime cabinet secretary in our constitution. Of course, the president has the leverage of doing appointment and restructuring his cabinet in a way that he feels is efficient for his service delivery. But again, if you look at the kind of roles that Mudavadi was given, the office of the prime cabinet minister was given, then you look at also, you counter-check it with the roles of the deputy president. Then you ask yourself, who is who? Because if you read all those Executive Order 1 of 2022 that was released last week, the roles of Prime Cabinet Secretary and the roles of Deputy President are all the same. And you look at the hierarchy in which it was listed, the President Office, Deputy President Office, Office of the Prime Cabinet, then there are Cabinet Secretaries. There is no such structure in our Constitution. And I'm sure after all this thing has passed, somebody will go to court, and there's a great danger that the court will quash that kind of an office away, just like the CASs have been quashed, though the president assured us that there's going to be either way.
Public participation, and we are going to, he said it was quashed because, you know, there was no public participation. They didn't follow due process when actually having those offices.
But there is no such offices in the Constitution.
Okay.
There is no such offices. These are unnecessary offices that they are only meant to reward political rejects and also interested parties that maybe financed your campaign or stood up with you, like now some of them we were with on TV during campaigns. I know some of them are looking forward to getting things like CSS. It's a waste of time, because the role of a minister or a cabinet secretary is to formulate policy at the cabinet level. Then we have the principal secretary running the secretariat or the accounting office at the ministry. Then you look at what is the role of a CAS. What is his role? I mean, when we were making our constitution 2010, was there such a position that Kenyans felt that this should be there? Now we are going to create it. The answer is no. And therefore, me, I feel that it's a waste of resources. It's a waste of public utilities and public and all the things that the government has been entrusted by the Kenyan people to check on their behalf, to create unnecessary positions of CSS. It's a waste of time.
All right.
And in fact, if it was supposed to be, then we could have taken young graduates who are on mentorship program. Then you say, okay, you put them to be a CS. But you want to put some older guys, give them titles of CSS just for prestige, because already they have what they are eating. So the only thing they lack is prestige. So you massage their ego by giving them titles. If that position was to be there, then it should be under certain internship program where there are some guys who can be in that position to be mentored to take off after government and know how government works. Running government is not easy. And in fact, for the next 3 years, it will take the current administration to adjust to proper management of the public office. Because it was difficult. The President Uhuru got it wrong almost 5 years, the first 5 years. Kibaki also got it wrong the first 5 years. In fact, the first 5 years, 2002, 2007, there's nothing much that the government did. A lot of the work were done after the 2008, 2009, 13, the government's structure.
All right. Very important, but I wanted to throw something there and say the person that is running government this time around has been a deputy president, so maybe he understands how government runs, so it might not take long for him to actually, you know.
It is not necessarily so.
Yeah.
When he was not hands-on, you know, government is a monster. It is all the way up to the office messengers.
Yeah.
It is not, and the most powerful people in government, and this is what the former minister, Waiguru, the current governor for Kirinyaga, overlooked. She thought that she was so powerful that she could just run over this small office messenger, secretary, this. And those are the guys getting critical documents in the ministry. They can really throw you off balance because they know which document goes to this office, what is exactly be said there. So if they want to finish you, they finish you. Those small employees, pale kwa ministry, those are the guys who can take you down. Not the big guys who are under surveillance, either by the knees or military intelligence or any. No, these small guys here, very powerful people.
Okay, you can't overlook that. Let me come to you. It is happening right now, and I know probably we say it's maybe cosmetic, it's not serious, but if at all we were serious, if at all we sit as Kenyans and wait for a vetting process, what is it that we say should have been the key things that we look at and say, if at all you're going to vet Musalia Mudavadi or any other nominee, then this is exactly what we as the people of this country need to understand and need to get from them so that we can actually weigh whether they are fit to hold the office or not. Okay, so one of, just going back to the last thought on that, one of the challenges we are facing under this constitution, or any constitution anyway, is at its heart, it's a political process. Okay, the executive, we would like to see a professional civil service, but it's headed by politicians who have fought tooth
hard, tooth and nail to be in office. So we have this tension, and not just here, even in the United States. If you remember, especially when you get somebody who is quite a strong personality, when Donald Trump came into office, he also issued a number of executive orders that had people, literally tearing their hair out. He banned a group of people from the United States and so on and so forth. So one of the things we'll continuously have to test is the limits of this executive authority. Because from where I see it, I feel that if you do win an election, in our case, and it's tested, it's gone to the Supreme Court and your victory is confirmed, then you should have a free hand to structure your government as you want it, but under the Constitution. But we have, again, a gray area there, because the Constitution gives you executive authority to do so many things, because our Constitution is based on principles. It's not like a code, it's not codified that you can only do this or do that. So the limits of that executive authority, I think, need to continually be tested. Looking at this Prime Cabinet Secretary role, it's like Shakespeare said, what's in a name? Did we have to go that way? Are we just massaging one person's ego to say that you're the Prime Cabinet Secretary? Did we have to say that, or could that power have been given just by definition, like you see with the outgoing the CS for Interior, Matiang'i. He actually he has had this role that Musalia hopes to be vetted and confirmed for. So once again, some of these things, there's a communication element to them, but you see, it's political. So now, going to your question, what are we looking for? Of course, the number one thing is we want people who have the capacity to execute. Now, the Cabinet Secretary is an interesting role because you're in charge of policy and you're in charge of your docket, but again, you're not the accounting officer. So you do have that authority, but the day-to-day administration is in the hands of your principal secretary. So you need somebody who is competent to address the policy issues around that. But remember, you're not coming in out of nowhere. You've been elected under a government that has already published a manifesto and is led by a president. And in our case, we can already see that our fifth president is a very hands-on president. So you be guided by what he intends to do, through your docket. And you're answerable to him. That one is even as per the Constitution. So number one is just capacity. We would hope integrity. But now, the more our democracy evolves, the grayer this issue of integrity becomes. What is it? If Musalia Mudavadi is saying today that he's worth 4 billion, do we leave that unquestioned? Because how is it that our nominees, and many of them have been career politicians, how are they able to build this sort of wealth when the majority of the population is struggling and a lot of our economic indicators are heading downwards? What secret, what magic is this they have that they can share with the country in terms of building wealth? And if they can build it for themselves, why over 30 years have they not spread some of that magic across our economy, So the integrity issue, big thing. I don't think this round will address that. So capacity, integrity, and eventually accountability. So like, will you fall on your sword? If, for example, you're given a target, whatever your target will be over the next 3 years, to deliver, and you don't do that consistently, at what point do we say enough is enough and you're not the right man or woman for this job?
Very important. You say integrity. Maybe you're not going to address integrity at this particular time, but we will mention it. Whether we get a satisfactory answer or not, that is not here or there. We are not going to follow up on that.
There is something that, of course, I agree with him, or especially on capacity. And when he was speaking, I was imagining myself. Maybe there is a labor convention, maybe in somewhere in Geneva, and your minister for public service, Aisha Jum, was given the platform before the world and the camera in a mulika. Now formulate. Now tell us policy. Give us a. I'm trying to look at that scenario. And then I talk about, when you talk about capacity, and I'm wondering if the Minister for Public Service, Gender, and some other position there, I don't know, has been given opportunity to speak on a world stage where there are donors, there are friends of the country, there are investors, listening to you, articulating policy for your country. This list of cabinet secretaries that have been forwarded to us, Who exactly can match up to that? Or for example, there is a defense on anti-terrorism, you know, in the global stage, which is a very serious thing, and nations have met there. Kenya is a superpower in the region, has been picked. Nigeria has been picked. Egypt has been picked. South Africa, and there is ministers are there. Then you give Aden Duale the platform to articulate defense and terrorism at the global stage. And you remember in 2014 when there was a terror attack at Garissa, he told us he had the list of the terrorists. He will present it.
Never see that. And the people who are funding terrorism.
Yes, he has never done that to date. And you know, you've been put on a global stage to present the country. You know, if you ask me, the president needed to be a bit more serious. If I were him, he needed to be a bit more serious so that he gives us a proper picture of what we are. Because almost half or 3/4 of what the ministries that he gave us, the nominees, they're representing not what we exactly are.
And I wanted to bring that in because I wanted, most of them, I think half of it are actually politicians. Half of it
are mostly politicians. And anyway, let me give him a benefit of doubt that he knows what he's doing. I want to give him a benefit of doubt that he knows what he's doing. Well, something I've discovered in the recent history is that for this generation we have, this decade that we are in, it is not a decade of integrity. World over, it is not a decade of integrity. All the way from Donald Trump, you go to Boris Johnson, you go to, I mean, world over, look at the elections currently happening. Look at Brazil. Bolsonaro was not a person you can quote on integrity levels, but the world seemed to be going towards not matters of integrity anymore. And that tells us that our professionals, people we have taken to school to put our society to a certain level, have failed the society. So the society has given up on something called professionalism, integrity. They pick somebody who looks like them. You are a thug, you are their hero. You are that is what they want.
And that's what you're talking about when you're saying about chapter 6, whether it actually means something.
And therefore, chapter 6, to me, if somebody need to see how to organize a referendum, to take that thing out. Another generation will come for it, will come and bring it back. But the current one is not interested at all on integrity.
So I'm out of time, but I want to give you each 30 seconds to wind up on this conversation. You are parting shot in regards to this vetting of CSS and moving forward as a country. What does the future look like for us, if at all these are the names that are going to be vetted and passed? Let me start with you, Cliff.
Okay, so our leaders reflect our society. It doesn't matter whether there's a democracy or an autocracy. It reflects the general feeling of the society. So we are now in the era of populism. So it's all about how you can, rile emotion and move forward with that. What we hope for Kenya is that, as I was saying earlier, we hope that our last hope will be the judiciary and that they can counter the excesses, like it's done all over the world, of the executive. I'm not hopeful about the minority in the legislature controlling the majority. I think they're in shambles, they're in disarray. That will take some time for them to recollect. But again, as Kenyans, let's never lose hope. We have been in tougher situations before, and we've come out stronger at the end of the process. So let's keep the faith.
All right, 30 seconds.
The most important thing the president needs to do is that he needs to rally the nation behind him, so that the nation can also give him support, can defend him in terms of his execution of duties. I would ask the president to bring the people on board. Remember, we had 22 million people registered as voters. 7 million voted him, 7 million voted for Raila, and 8 million never voted. So we have a president who is out of 22 million. He's got only 7 million behind him, and almost 14, is it 14 or 16? 15 million are not behind him. I would want him to rally people behind him, because when the nation is united behind their commander-in-chief, then most of the things can be done. Good ministers like Chelugui and all those other ministers should be able to advise the president and be with him and help him to mobilize the nation behind him, because we have a lot of hope in this administration. They promised us so many good things. I know, even though some people are not with him, but we know these things can be done. When the president fails, the whole nation fails. Nobody would want this administration to fail, because we want it all to succeed.
Everybody wants freedom.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Clifford Tega and Oyala Kiasa, for joining us for this conversation and making time for this conversation. It has been interesting. Unfortunately, you are out of time and you can't continue anymore. Thank you so much. Hope we invite you next time you come. Sindo. That has been the Morning Drift here on Lookuptv. The conversation continues online like they always say. We are also, up next is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage with the Lookup Business. Don't go too far.
Hi there, my name is George Washuri. I am so happy to see you, and today I am here to enumerate, to explain how